about maths much at school. I thought it was boring, but today I learned that my dislike for maths was because maths is actually racist. Yep, you heard that right. The California State Education Panel thinks 2 + 2 = 4 is inequitable and no longer wants to make getting the right answer the main objective of mathematics. You see, it's all because there is a history of underrepresentation of black, Hispanic and Indigenous people in mathematics and mathematic-related domains. This all stemmed from a manual that was penned by these Californian educationalists. They claimed teaching methods were racist and they needed to be overhauled so that non-white pupils could, and I quote, reclaim their mathematical ancestry. Seriously, you couldn't make this stuff up. Under their ideas, getting the right answer is simple. It's called white supremacy. And teachers who uphold the idea that there are always right and wrong answers perpetuate objectivity as well as fear of open conflict. And to the rest of us, they're two characteristics of racist systems, apparently. It's flipping maths. Get a grip, people. The answer is either right or wrong. Anyone else who says otherwise clearly can't put 2 and 2 together. And we wonder why the world is going mad. Well, it starts with this rubbish.
First, I want to thank everybody that has subscribed, liked, commented. I appreciate everything that you've said. No matter what you've said, I appreciate the likes. Please share this with your friends. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you hit that share button. We're trying to make sure that everybody know that they're not victims, that they're empowered for greatness, that we can make a difference again in this nation. That we can stand up for biblical values, we can stand up for truth and push back against all the lies and everything that's false that's taking place in this land. So I appreciate that. And please, thank you for looking at my videos and participating and making our voice known.
Who don't deal in exactness, these people who are holistic, these people who can create hip hop, but it's going to be the white people who invent glasses and, transistors, etc. But black people are good the way they were before the Enlightenment. The idea is that the way we were as Africans, why don't we just preserve that? We'll cherry pick the things that whites invented, because you can't. Of course, it's good that there are glasses, that there is glass, for example. But no, blackness means we're not going to get the real answers, that we're not going to have standardized tests, that people are not going to be ranked on the basis of something that comes from these standardized tests. And I think that it needs to be posed as a question rather than seeping into our thinking without being questioned. Because the idea definitely seems to be Charlie Parker, yes, but Lord forbid that a black person also learn how to do calculus or be expected to, unless they're peculiar and that's the way that they really want to go.
Is math racist? How absurd a question that is, but unfortunately, in today's climate, with the woke supremacists running rampant, that is a legitimate question. The quest to find the right answer to a math problem is now considered white supremacy. The fact that 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4 anymore should shock everybody. And they're doing it primarily to quote unquote help black students, as if the dumbing down of standards is really elevating black students. What you're doing is harming them, because you're not giving them the opportunity to grow. You're not giving them the opportunity to excel on their own merits. What you're telling the children is that they're not smart enough to achieve at the current rate. So we have to lower the standards for them. But you don't know that when you lower the standards for them educationally, you're actually lowering their opportunities to achieve and excel professionally. Because when employers realize and have a competition and have to decide between a person who went to a school that had lower standards and a person that went to a school that had higher standards, who do you think they're going to choose? Especially in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. I work in the technology field. I work in the business intelligence field. And one of the things I like to focus on is trying to help minority students become more acclimated and knowledgeable when it comes to technology. When I was in college, I helped to run a program that we called the Computing Olympiad. And what we did, we brought students from primarily majority Black and Latino schools. We brought those students to the University of Alabama on the campus, and we had, and this was a long time ago, so don't laugh, but we had 3 contests: a web surfing, web design, and a programming contest. But the whole intent behind this was to expose those students who otherwise would not have seen technology like that, but expose them to STEM opportunities, expose them to technology opportunities, to get their feet wet, to whet their curiosity when it came to science, technology, engineering, and math. To show them, hey, there's a different way, there's an alternative, there's a different path you can take. There's this field out here that you may not have much exposure to. There are computers. Learn how to build things in computers. Learn how to program things in computers. There's a different way, there's a path. And instead of downgrading the standards, no, we gave the children the opportunity to interact with technology to raise their expectation of themselves. That's what we did. And so I'm offended when I hear people call mathematics racist.
Now this, California leftists now trying to cancel math class? According to a Wall Street Journal op-ed, the state's newly proposed curriculum recommends schools use the documents to teach kids titled A Pathway to Equitable Math Instruction, Dismantling Racism in Mathematics Instruction. If ratified, the controversial curriculum would bring social justice to math classes across California's K-12 public education. Here to react, former professor, Dr. Carol Swain. Doctor, thank you so much for joining the program. We've heard these theories before that black kids, brown kids in communities, they can't learn. The standards need to be changed. We know that's false because the charter schools, Capital Prep, Khan Academy, took those same schools out of those poor neighborhoods, turned them to A students. They all got free rides to college. So what is the goal of this program?
Well, I can tell you the goal of the program is to push critical race theory under the guise of mathematics. And if you look at that Oakland school district, the students have a 27% proficiency rate in math. It's 90% minority. What will happen if this is implemented? That proficiency rate will drop even lower. It will destroy opportunities for minority students. It's not about being equitable. It's about destroying equal opportunity. These children will not have an opportunity to be successful in life if they cannot be taught math, traditional math.
Yeah, I find it insulting that they're treating our kids like this. Part of the curriculum that is being proposed, it says, addressing students' mistakes is a form of white supremacy. Reject ideas of natural gifts and talents as equitable, frowns on having only one right answer. So if you don't say there's one right answer, then you're racist. This is not preparing our kids. Again, I went through a lot of charter schools that are making it happen for our kids. Why won't they support that? Is that because the teachers union, are they behind this education?
Well, we know that the teachers unions are behind it, but the progressives, Democrats are pushing critical race theory all across the country. It will destroy opportunities for our children, and more affluent parents can take their children out of schools. They can put them in private schools where they're being taught, or charter schools, or they can homeschool. But there are children who are trapped in inner city schools. Those are the ones whose lives are being destroyed. Every American needs to stand up and fight against this dangerous critical race theory agenda. It's a worldview. It's destructive. It needs to end now.
Yeah, they want to defund something, defund these schools. Maybe we'll start getting some change done. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
That finding the correct answer is racist. See what this does, this goes back to the whole theme. It goes back to the whole agenda of the woke mob, the woke supremacy, the cultural Marxists, and the left. They want to get rid of objective truth. Finding the right answer is associated with objective truth. You see, because when 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4 anymore, then there's nothing true. You see, it's all about what you decide is truth. It doesn't matter if you get the right answer. It's whatever answer you decide is right. That's secular humanism. That's postmodernism. It's nebulous. You can't pin it down. There's no truth. There's no objective truth. It's whatever you decide. There's no merit base when it comes to that. All it is based upon how you think. It's all emotionally driven. And that's the point. All of these attempts to downgrade the teaching of math, to downgrade education, to make them substandard in an effort to quote unquote provide equity, which in turn, see, equity, when you do these type of things, it really produces inequity. When you lower standards in an attempt to produce equity, you're actually creating more inequity, because when you lower the standards, you're just lowering them for the poor children, because the children with means, the parents with means would take their children out of these schools. So they will still be learning at a higher standard while these students are still at the lower standard. And so that's producing inequity, and that's what they want. They want to create a nation and a people that is so tied to the government, and that their intelligence is so dumbed down that they're not smart enough and wise enough. They don't have the critical thinking skills. They don't have the problem solving skills to recognize when somebody's taking advantage of them. And that's all an attempt. That's all intentional. It's all intentional. It's sad to say, it's all intentional for control, for dominance in the lives of these children. And it will not help them in the end. All it does is hurt them.
That for reasons that we could spend a long time trying to explore, as a population, Black kids aren't doing so well in terms of acquiring mathematical proficiency. That is manifesting itself in a number of different ways, including on these national assessment tests that I just mentioned, but also in more rarefied environments when it comes to selecting people for programs of study, when it comes to gifted and talented, when it comes to advanced placement classes, when it comes to getting into universities when it comes to majoring in the STEM subjects where we see African Americans underrepresented. So the stark fact of differences by race in the acquisition of the functional capacity to master certain skills, that stark fact calls out for some kind of account, so some kind of narrative. How can we explain it? And what better than to wrap oneself in the warm blanket of anti-racist outrage? What better than to denounce the entire corpus that your people are not mastering by saying that it's somehow alien to, or in fact repressive of the essence of your people?
They are looking to produce victims. That's what they want. They want to produce a victim mindset. Because if a student goes to these substandard schools like they're going to now, and they lower the standards, and the child comes out and they cannot get a job, you know who they're going to blame? White supremacy. They're going to play the role of a victim. I'm here to tell you, we are not victims. We are empowered for greatness. And so I am offended. I am truly offended, because it's telling my children that they're not smart enough to achieve at the same level as somebody else. So we have to lower the standards. And I reject that vehemently. I reject that. That is a lie. I reject that. I believe that every child has the opportunity to excel if given the right resources. If parents dedicate enough time to the children, if the children, especially when they're older, dedicate enough time to their studies, they can achieve. They can achieve. But it's up to us. It's up to us as a society to pour into our children and tell them that they're not victims, that they are empowered for greatness. Because lowering the standards for the sake of equity only produces inequity. It is offensive, as downright an atrocity to the children. And I refuse to let that happen. I refuse to allow the powers that be, Bill and Melinda Gates and others, to say that our children are not smart enough to achieve, and that 2 + 2 equaling 4, finding the right answer, is wrong and is racist and is white supremacy. That is a lie. I reject it. We are not victims. We are empowered for greatness. Thank you so much for liking your comments and subscribing to the channel. Please share this with your friends. Smash that like button, smash the subscription bell, share this with everybody you know. We're trying to make sure people understand that they're not victims, that they are empowered for greatness, and all this stuff that's out here that's telling them otherwise is false and will not benefit them in the end. So please, I appreciate that. Share that.